I'm Kim Ming-Huber-Wald. I'm the Director of Strategy at Propane Agency.
And I'm Alec DeTanto, our Director of User Experience at Propane. So today we're taking a look at the U.S. Army Medical Department activity for Irwin's website for their Weed Army Community Hospital. And so we see this as a website for military personnel and their families who are either at the National Training Center at the Fort Irwin base or others on that base to get medical care. We are going to be taking a look at it from its perspective of its brand, its messaging, how well it's achieving its goals, and all the way up to its design and kind of giving some feedback and perspective on it. First thoughts, Kim Ming?
The site looks dated, but the facility looks really nice. And so it's a bit of a juxtaposition, right?
Yeah, that's a really great point. Here, I'm just going to run some B-roll of the facility that's on the site right now.
It's beautiful.
It really is. And I think that was my take as well. I noticed that just on that first page, I understand that I'm on as part of the military. I understand that it's a military base hospital. And then I saw some news and announcements, and that was it. So as a potential patient, a new person stationed on this base, as well as existing patient, someone trying to come back to schedule an appointment, I don't have a really clear call to action or really clear anything directing me where I should be going, what I should be doing.
The main text here, when checking in for an appointment, you must bring your Department of Defense military ID. That is for someone coming to visit. And so among appointments, patient services, healthy living, some of those have to be more important. The needs of the people coming here, whether it be to make appointments, find a doctor, fill prescriptions, whatever it is, there has to be something that people are more likely to do and needing more to do than others. And so what's most important? We're not sure.
We're seeing a lot of sort of images integrated, but they're not necessarily laid out as best as possible. We have our kind of rotating carousel, which is nice. It shows off the experience. It shows off the campus, exactly. But I think that there are ways where we could maybe eliminate some of this big gray space. We could kind of better help point people in the right direction while also delivering a better brand and a more up-to-date design language as well.
Absolutely. And so I'm a little torn. This font here with the announcements and the news and the title, it's clearly not a standard font that you'll see in today's modern design, firmament. But I kind of love it, especially if it is a historical font. It's font that's been used in this part of the Army or in the military at large. I think it could be very cool if the rest of the site was like pictures in a more cinematic way, maybe in a more immersive way, and it was a little bit more modern. Then that font could be a nice juxtaposition to some of that. But right now, it's not working. It's helping to distract as opposed to helping to guide.
So moving into sort of the core exploration of the site, like if I were a user and I were coming to complete something, how would I do that? We have to kind of assume that our Army service members or their family are coming to the site. They want to schedule an appointment, being a key use case. They want to find the address or the phone number to contact and reach out. They want to learn more about the layout of the hospital or preparing for a type of procedure they're going to have there, a birth, maybe anything like that. I think if we take those sort of three core use cases, how does a user sort of fulfill that? It's interesting to see that, if you need medical advice, we have a CTA here for a nurse advice line. That's one way to reach out. What I don't know is that the way to reach out? Is that what you want me to do? Because it is kind of first and foremost the thing on the site. So would you prefer me call that than any other number for the hospital?
Once again, great that they actually provide guidance and a first line of offering. But it's so small, actually, and the attention is not really called to it. So I'm not 100% sure if this is it, as you said.
Yep. And so if I were to go to appointments, I see I can go to appointments by phone. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So here we are, some make an appointment. It looks like the most important thing you're telling me on this page is appointment no-shows hurt everybody. So you want me to
Right.
actually make my appointment. Very interesting that that's the first thing you want me to see. I do see these phone numbers over here on the left, but they almost
Mhm.
feel secondary considering the fact that they're
Right.
not in this main column of the page.
I'm trying to think of the balance between whether it or not their business model just and their traffic is not very large, and so perhaps this works for them. Perhaps just having a few people who answer the phones who know everybody, and maybe it's more of a community in that way. And in that case, I could see not necessarily needing to guide everybody. If I have to assume that there is some stressor on that person's time or those people's time, so it would be really nice for them to be able to know a little bit about who's calling, what's calling, and or at least to give them a little information to be able to guide someone to the right area
Yeah,
and make it
you
a little
know,
faster.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the thing that stood out to me in sort of looking at the about page for a little bit earlier. So one, another thing to take a note on other pages is our font gets pretty small the deeper
Yeah,
I go into the site, and the layout starts to change a lot too. So I feel like I'm on an entirely different site. Colors are
absolutely.
changed, our like horizontal bars around the nav change, the size of our fonts change. So just consistency overall really help with the brand experience as well as usability. But I just noticed this sentence right here. The NTC in Fort Irwin are enduring facilities. Today, the NTC is the premier training facility in the continental US with over 50,000 rotational US and foreign national service members annually in its
So it's
classrooms.
not that
So
small.
it's not small. Not only is it not small, it's also new people coming in
All the
quickly
time. Yeah.
all the time and then leaving. And so, how do we help them get onboarded faster and more efficiently? It could be a really important use case of the site.
Absolutely. And I think even this sentence, first of all, this page is incredibly dense, and long form content has its place, but usually it's not on a web page. And so and so how the fact that most of your audience is not going to read through this, but what is it that they need to know?
The question is that really less of a priority than about the center or healthy living,
Exactly.
or current patient services or appointments? So I almost wonder, how do we help serve newcomers right from the homepage
Right.
as a primary audience? So let's take a look at what happens when I dive into this section.
Right. It would be really nice if it's my first time on the site, if I am a newcomer, it would be nice if there was some big glowing thing telling me, newcomers, come here. We welcome
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
Welcome to, Weed Army Community Hospital. You're in good
Yeah.
hands. Some credibility statements, some support statements, some community statements. That would be really nice from a messaging brand and a usability standpoint as well.
Yeah. So if I go
Yeah.
down here into new patient information from the newcomers section, we get a new patient guide, how to schedule an appointment, where it's located, how can I contact. So all of these are really great pieces
Yeah.
of information delivered in a way that's not necessarily the easiest to use,
Absolutely.
or read, and nor is it the most engaging. It's probably pretty easy to miss or skip over. And in fact, it
Absolutely.
makes me wonder if the website's important in a new patient journey at all, if
Right.
it's functioning like this. I also noticed that they have split the employee and the patient newcomer sort of use case in this menu. So this is all what seems like for mostly new patients, or maybe general, then new patients, and then you also have employees in processing before and upon arrival. So it's interesting that we're kind of using that newcomer term to mean multiple types of newcomers here,
Right.
patients and employees.
And when you split audiences like that, it's hard for people to find themselves, right? I don't know if
Hmm.
a new employee would think of themselves necessarily as a newcomer, but maybe they both do. And there's no other section for employees on the bottom that I saw on the footer.
I think
Um,
that architecting this around the horizontal flow of what a patient might need to do, or a new patient might need to do, or an employee might need to do, as opposed to kind of vertical silos, would be
right.
a potential strategy for how to make the website perform better, be more engaging, and help deliver more value more efficiently.
Absolutely. And some of the facts that we saw on the newcomers page about it being a green building, sustainably built and run, which is super awesome. Some of that seems like homepage material. That's crown jewel in this
Hmm.
facility. It seems like really good, I'll say, brand
Hmm.
issues to bring up on something like a homepage.
Hmm.
Maybe further down than your CTAs for your patients and getting them where they need to go. But that's something that other people might miss because they're not going to About Us newcomers because they're not newcomers.
I like
And
that
it's
you
very
brought up.
rare. It's very rare that a patient will go to an About Us about the hospital itself.
Yeah, I like that you brought up brand because I think the way that we frame the hospital itself and its features and the fact that it's green all sort of start to establish and develop the perception of this hospital to the people who come to the site. And so the more that we can get those types of pieces of information onto the homepage, the more you can actually even create a brand for it. So let me ask you this in sort of your closing thoughts or sort of ways to sum up what you think this website could benefit from. Where do you think you'd recommend starting?
I think a design system, just in general, and I would be, if I were to meet with the business and medical heads of a Weed Army Community Hospital, I would ask, what are your priorities? What do you need people to know about you? Clearly, it's medical excellence, this modern facility. I think that's one of the big things, and one of the big things they focus on in contents. But I would make a design system, and then I would try to bring to the homepage some of their audience priorities, like, hey, can we have a special module for newcomers? Can we have a special module for what we want people to do if they need an appointment or if they're scheduling a procedure? What are the main use cases of the site? And let's get some modules on the homepage that help people get there fast, right? What are the most common, popular, or important use cases?
Yep.
Design system, and then use case guidance on the homepage.
Yeah. I can't agree more. I think that brand and sort of architecting out our messaging, what to say, what we want people to hear, how we want people to perceive us is sort of that first step alongside of that. And then, yeah, who are our audiences? How do we help them? What use cases do we want to support? And designing our experience in order of that flow in a way that helps reinforce the perception of Weed Army Community Hospital back to its patients, back to its employees. And I think by the end of that, what you'd end up with is a website that's as beautiful and distinct as the facility itself. I'd love to hear what you might think you would do to help facilitate better healthcare outcomes for the Weed Army Community Hospital through its website and its website redesign.
Thank you again. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for watching. And I am Kim Ming Huberwald, Director of Strategy at Propane.
And I'm Alec Catanto, our Director of UX.